faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we're exploring Huawei's Teamwork Method, subtitled The Talent Management Principles That Unite Huawei's 190,000 Employees. In 1997, while drafting the Huawei Basic Law, a team member asked founder Ren Zhengfei if talent was Huawei's core competitive advantage. Ren Zhengfei responded, "Talent itself isn't Huawei's core competitiveness. The ability to effectively manage talent is what truly gives an enterprise its competitive edge." And so, how do you effectively manage talent? Author Wu Jianguo, former VP of HR at Huawei, identifies 6 major talent management challenges: attracting talent, accurate selection, effective utilization, rapid development, flexible deployment, and smooth exits.
Huawei's success stems from solving these 6 challenges.
Now I'll break down how Huawei tackled each challenge. First, the challenge of attracting talent. Let's examine how Huawei attracts talent. Today, as a Fortune 500 tech leader, Huawei easily attracts top talent. That challenge is solved. But SMEs should learn from Huawei's early approaches to talent attraction. Early Huawei used 2 methods. First, painting an inspiring vision for employees. In the late 1980s, Huawei started trading telephone switches, a high-margin product in a growing market. Ren Zhengfei then envisioned manufacturing switches, which required specialized talent. Former Chairman Guo Ping recommended his classmate Zheng Baoyang. Zheng had just been admitted to Tsinghua University's PhD program. To recruit him, Ren personally traveled to Beijing. Ren told Zheng, "China's telecom market is divided among 7 foreign powers with incompatible systems. Huawei will create Chinese switches and drive out these foreign powers."
Inspired by this vision, 25-year-old Zheng abandoned his elite studies to join Huawei as chief engineer.
Huawei has consistently painted compelling visions for young talent. And in 1998, when Nokia dominated mobile phones, Huawei told campus recruits, "Huawei's tomorrow will be like Nokia's today."
In September 2019, Ren Zhengfei told top international AI experts that 5G was just child's play, while AI represented Huawei's real future.
These inspiring visions have enabled Huawei to attract top-tier tech talent. The second approach was generous compensation. 30 years ago, Zheng Baiyang's starting monthly salary was 500 yuan, a substantial amount at that time. Today, Huawei still offers multiple times the average salary to exceptional young talents. These are Huawei's methods for attracting talent. Now we turn to the second challenge, inaccurate selection. Let's examine how Huawei selects talent. With strong appeal comes abundant applicants, but finding suitable talent remains challenging for most companies. According to a U.S. survey, job fit in American companies is around 50%, while Chinese companies average only 30%. This means Chinese companies expend massive resources recruiting, yet only 1/3 of hires actually fit.
Requirements.
The primary cause is selection traps. Applicants use tactics like exaggeration or fabrication to win interviewers' favor, triggering emotional misjudgments.
Yet Huawei achieves near US-level job fit rates. How?
First, Huawei established objective selection criteria to minimize interviewer subjectivity. Objective standards include 2 dimensions: identifying key competency requirements for each role. Take sales recruitment. Typically, salespeople need 3 competencies: interpersonal understanding, verbal communication, and resilience. But Huawei doesn't demand excellence in all 3. Instead, it identifies the most critical competency as the selection standard. Huawei considers interpersonal understanding most crucial, since communication skills and resilience can be developed through training. Interpersonal understanding is hardwired, requiring quick comprehension of others' needs to develop effective marketing strategies. Thus, interpersonal understanding is the key quality for sales roles. Huawei's second selection criterion is alignment between personal values and corporate values. Huawei has 2 core values: customer centricity and dedication to strivers. These two values, the underlying logic. Without long-term dedication, it's impossible to deliver sustained value to customers in our fast-changing world. Huawei considers value alignment more crucial than job skills. Long-term, value misalignment widens the rift between employees and the company as work deepens. For the company, this becomes a ticking time bomb. The more capable the employee, the greater the damage. Take former Huawei EVP Li Yin. Value conflicts with Ren Zhengfei led him to leave Huawei and launch a competing business, sparking 6 years of rivalry. Thus, Huawei prioritizes value-aligned talent in selection. Though not the most elite initially, through long-term cultivation, they grow into corporate pillars. With objective standards set, the next step is assessing candidate fit. Huawei employs the STAR behavioral interview method: situation, task, action, result. The acronym examines candidates' experiences, what situation they faced, task assigned, actions taken, and results achieved. The key is using high-stakes scenarios where candidates reveal authenticity, vague or hesitant responses expose dishonesty. So how is STAR applied? It evaluates two dimensions. First, assessing job competence. For example, testing market development skills. Experienced salespeople should know client sources, core needs, and persuasion tactics, regardless of territory size. When designing questions, pose pointed ones, like asking, describe your toughest market challenge and how you overcame it. Overcoming extreme challenges inherently involves dramatic tension, ideal for revealing capability. From these details, interviewers gauge professional caliber. Second, assessing candidates' values. Huawei's core value is dedication to strivers. How do they evaluate fit? Interviewers might ask. What hardships or setbacks have you overcome? Responses reveal candidates' understanding of adversity. Further, interviewers assess methods used to overcome challenges, determining grit and capability. Even if candidates prepare extensively to fake hardship experiences, their descriptions ring hollow in dramatic scenarios, exposing deception. Finally, overcoming interviewers' self-protection bias is crucial. Most companies face this. Managers prefer hiring less capable subordinates. Reason 1, highly skilled employees are harder to manage. Reason 2, talented hires may threaten superiors' positions. Huawei counters this with 3 methods. First, panel interviews, typically involving 3 to 5 interviewers. Even if departmental interviewers show bias, others maintain objectivity. Second, setting challenging targets. Take recruitment teams. Most companies measure hiring volume or completion rates. This incentivizes filling seats, not quality, since hiring anyone counts as success. But measuring key position retention rates forces recruiters to find talent who pass probation, raising standards. Third, direct accountability for errors. If new hires underperform, responsible managers face warnings, even revoked interviewing privileges. That concludes part 2. We've covered Huawei's talent selection standards, methods, and precautions. Now to the third challenge, ineffective utilization. Earlier we noted Huawei hires for specific strengths while training to address weaknesses. So, how does cultivation work? Huawei accelerates growth through 2 principles. First, customized development. Different talents need tailored approaches. For example, managers from technical backgrounds often lack interpersonal understanding skills. Sales background managers excel at relationships, but may lack strategic thinking abilities. The second principle is practical application. Unlike academic education, corporate training focuses on real-world utility. Thus, Huawei prioritizes hands-on practice. New hires spend 70% of time learning through application. Guided by these principles, Huawei developed 4 key training methods. First, company leaders serve as training deans. Talent cultivation demands long-term strategy. It's difficult, slow-yielding, but ultimately strategic. This requires training deans to be top leaders, not just HR specialists. Ren Zhengfei personally mentored early stars like Lianan and Zheng Baoyang before founding Huawei University, where he remains dean. Pro one firm. Top companies follow this model. Jack Ma headed Hupan University. Similarly, Huawei assigns senior talent as instructors. While senior talent elsewhere focuses solely on business, at Huawei, they must also cultivate successors. Every mid to senior manager undergoes instructor training and certification, enabling one-on-one mentorship during work. Additionally, over half of Huawei meetings are study sessions where leaders share successes and failures. Third method, laser focus. Rapid expansion brings myriad issues, but solving all is impossible. Huawei identifies one or two critical areas for concentrated breakthroughs. Example, when expanding globally, Huawei urgently needed senior managers with local market expertise. They rapidly created standardized training where overseas experts distilled 5 to 8 key challenges like tariffs and labor laws. When 1 year, materials addressed these specifics, then deployed prepared talent worldwide. Fourth, incentivizing trainers. A Chinese proverb says, "Teaching your apprentice starves the master," reflecting senior employees' common fear of being surpassed by younger talent. They often cite time constraints to neglect development duties. The solution? Linking trainers' interests directly to cultivation outcomes. First, tying promotions to successor development. Failure to groom replacements blocks advancement. Second, increasing talent development's weight in managerial evaluations. For example, in 1998, Ren Zhengfei raised talent cultivation's KPI weight for senior managers to 35%. Ren explained, "Since no one motivated to train newcomers, we overcorrected. Once voluntary cultivation emerges, we'll reduce the weight." We've covered Huawei's training methods, but global expansion requires leader promotion, introducing the fourth challenge. Slow growth. How Huawei appoints leaders. First, grassroots selection follows a 3 priorities principle. Priority 1, promoting from high-performing teams. Top teams form Huawei's leadership pipeline, policy mandates. Consistent underperformance gets managers dismissed. Deputies can't advance. Primary roles get filled from top teams, fueling competition. When teams excel, leaders get promoted, members can lead elsewhere. Priority 2, promoting from hardship postings first. Huawei operates globally, in developed areas and developing nations alike. Given equal qualifications, Huawei prioritizes challenging regions. Adversity builds capability. For example, Ren dispatched the author to remote areas like Inner Mongolia, Ula, and Alsa for development. Priority 3, selecting self-critical leaders. Self-criticism drives teams to identify shortcomings and improve. Leaders must also embrace external criticism. For senior leaders, Huawei implements rotating duty. This means top roles rotate among core executives. For example, Huawei's rotating chairmanship is held by board members Guo Peng, Hu Hukun, and Xu Jijun, with Hu Hukun currently serving. Huawei's rotation system evolved gradually. Initially, all decisions were made by the president's office, centered around Ren Zhengfei. To reduce dependence on Ren and cultivate successors, Huawei overhauled its leadership structure. This transformation occurred in 3 phases. Phase 1, EMT rotation. EMT stands for Executive Management Team. In 1998, Huawei engaged IBM to build its organizational management system. Per IBM's advice, 8 core executives rotated as EMT chair, replacing top-down decision-making. With EMT members from diverse departments, this ensured comprehensive input. Phase 2, CEO rotation. After EMT rotation matured in 2011, Huawei launched CEO rotation while retaining EMT, with 3 rotating CEOs selected from the 8 EMT members. Each served 6-month terms, handling both CEO-level coordination and departmental management, building cross-functional understanding. Phase 3, Chairman rotation. After CEO rotation stabilized, Huawei upgraded further in 2018. The rotating chairmanship system. Current rotating chairs are former rotating CEOs Guo Ping, Hu Kun, and Xu Zhizhen. Their succession readiness remains observed. Thus, Huawei retains Ren Zhengfei's veto power. Finally, Huawei implements dynamic cadre management, a principle applied since its startup days. In early 1996, Huawei held a collective resignation event for marketing managers. Participants submitted 2 reports: a performance review summarizing 1995 work and 1996 plans, and a resignation letter to restart from entry level with 1 approved based on merit. This served 2 purposes. First, developing cadre resilience. Huawei did this for 2 reasons. First, to temper managerial resilience. For example, the 3 rotating chairmen have all experienced ups and downs in their over 20-year careers. And second, it breaks the bureaucracy-first mindset. Traditional Chinese thought views cadres as symbols of power. They gain power and then assume responsibility. But at Huawei, it's reversed. Power is granted based on responsibility. A cadre who can't lead a team well or deliver results should step aside for someone more capable. If they achieve results in a new role, they can still be promoted. To prevent the dynamic management mechanism from becoming a mere formality or a tool to eliminate dissenters, one must be willing to start with those closest to them. For instance, Huawei smoothly conducted the marketing department's collective resignation event because Ren Zhengfei first removed his close associate, acting marketing president Mao Shangzhang, setting an example for other cadres. The book's author also experienced being demoted. Ren Zhengfei sent him to remote Inner Mongolia for sales work, yet he was exceptionally promoted by Ren and seen as Ren's confidant within Huawei. That concludes the 4th section. In this section, we covered Huawei's methods for appointing cadres. Now we move to the 5th challenge, immobility. Immobility here refers to the inability to motivate talent. Let's examine how Huawei designed its talent incentive system, the compensation structure. Huawei's compensation system has 3 aspects. First, the monthly salary employees receive, also called fixed salary. How is an employee's fixed salary determined? First, differentiate the value of positions. Different roles have different values. The more important the role, the higher the pay. For example, among directors at Huawei, R&D and sales directors hold the highest value, with salaries far exceeding others. So how do we assess a position's importance? Huawei's approach is to gather senior executives to discuss and define principles for position value, such as job responsibility, complexity, and innovation requirements. Based on these principles, executives negotiate position values. If consensus isn't reached, Ren Zhengfei makes the final call. If position values change, periodic dynamic adjustments are made. Second, ensure salaries are market competitive. Competitive pay attracts top talent. Huawei's method is to closely follow competitors. Take the telecom industry. Over 20 years ago, Huawei gathered salary data from Siemens, Motorola, Ericsson, Cisco, and ZTE's R&D staff, covering junior, senior, and expert levels. Based on this, Huawei set salaries above most competitors, but this created fairness issues when attracting industry talent. New hires often command higher pay than veterans. Matching salaries means losing talent. Paying newcomers more breeds resentment. So how to solve this? Huawei uses sign-on allowances. If a new hire earns 2,000 yen more monthly, the difference is paid as a 2-year stipend. After 2 years, if the employee excels and raises their income substantially, the allowance becomes negligible. If they underperform, losing the allowance effectively reduces their pay, which is justified. Second aspect, bonuses as variable pay. Their design has 3 key challenges. First, aligning with business models. Different business models require different variable pay calculations. In sales, most Chinese firms use base salary plus commissions, common where business cycles are short. But Huawei's early telecom business involved long client development cycles, requiring sustained relationship building. Thus, Huawei motivates salespeople with project-based or annual bonuses. And Huawei sales bonuses are exceptionally generous. Second challenge, who gets rewarded? Most Chinese firms prioritize individual contributions. So even in underperforming departments, high-scoring individuals get large bonuses. Huawei differs. It values team collaboration above all. To encourage teamwork, Huawei links individual bonuses to team performance. Poor team results mean smaller individual bonuses. Additionally, higher-level employees have stronger ties to company-wide performance metrics. If the company loses money, executives feel greater impact than frontline staff. And the third challenge is expectation management in performance ratings. Grades A through D are common, with most companies giving ratings. And if over half get A or B, yet bonuses remain small. Huawei does the opposite. 85% get bonus or C, but bonuses stay substantial. This involves expectation management. High ratings with small bonuses make employees feel effort isn't rewarded. At Huawei, 45% get C, yet receive generous bonuses, rewarding extra effort. Only 10% get A, with even higher bonuses, aligning with expectations. Third aspect, long-term incentives. Huawei implemented these from its startup days. In 1990, Huawei issued internal shares at 1 yen per unit. By 2002, it introduced virtual shares. No ownership or voting rights, non-transferable. Holders receive dividends and asset appreciation. Huawei repurchases virtual shares when employees leave. After a decade, virtual shares exceeded billions with substantial returns. These incentives reward employees appropriately, greatly boosting motivation. For example, the author received shares upon joining in 1996. Dividends after 2 years fully covered the author's mortgage. This experience cemented the author's belief that Huawei doesn't shortchange strivers. That concludes Part 5. Finally, we address the sixth challenge, unmovables, how Huawei maintains organizational vitality. Long-term incentives worked well initially, but over time, more employees held shares or virtual shares, diluting the incentive effect. Imagine value creators as cart pullers, while cart riders are past contributors, resting on gains. As riders increased, pullers received fewer incentives. Huawei's core problem. To maintain vitality, Huawei tackled this issue. Solutions fall into two main categories. First, reforming long-term incentives by gradually replacing virtual shares with TUP, an internationally proven model. TUP stands for Time Unit Plan, a deferred cash reward distribution scheme. For example, an employee granted 5,000 units starts receiving dividends in year 2. With virtual shares, employees get full dividends immediately in year 2. But TUP stipulates year 2 grants 1/3 dividend rights, year 3 2/3 with full rights only in year 4. In year 5, they receive full dividends plus share appreciation, calculated by external auditors based on 5-year net asset growth. Then the 5,000 units reset. Versus virtual shares, TUP has 3 advantages. First, resolving legal issues. Virtual shares, unique to China, lack international recognition, limiting Huawei's global talent appeal. Second, solving new hire incentives within 5 years. Typically, employees' first 2 years are investment periods. Later years yield returns. If they leave after 2 years, the investment is wasted. TUP's deferral adds hesitation when job hopping. Third, balancing rewards between cart pullers and cart riders. As TUP expands, it reduces the privileged class's proportion. The second vitality method, exit mechanisms. TUP alone won't eliminate vested interests. For contributors, Huawei designed 3 exit paths. First, spin-off diversification. Huawei established High-Tone for corporate travel services, like booking flights and hotels. Through High-Tone, Huawei transitioned veterans to managerial roles in new ventures. Second, role transformation. This means shifting from executive to non-executive roles, no governance involvement. Ex-executives may join boards for risk management, coordination, or government relations. But board seats are limited. Another transformation, moving to expert roles like client relations specialists for key accounts or marketing strategists for market entry plans. Experts are responsible for drafting market penetration strategies. The third option is early retirement. In 2004, Huawei implemented a retirement policy allowing employees with at least 8 years of service and over 45 years of age to retire early, with the company providing cash compensation. This policy targets early employees who held collective shares, as stock dividends brought them substantial gains. Salaries and bonuses were just pocket money in their eyes. Unlike virtual shares, which are repurchased upon retirement, retired employees holding collective shares still receive significant annual dividends. This approach increases short-term financial costs for the company, but long-term, it prevents inaction by senior employees and creates room for younger talent to advance. That covers the entire book. Now let's briefly review. In part 1, we covered Huawei's solution to talent attraction, painting an inspiring vision and offering ample rewards. Part 2 discussed Huawei's talent selection, emphasizing the importance of finding the right criteria to solve the challenge of inaccurate selection. Part 3 explained how Huawei prioritizes talent cultivation from top to bottom. Part 4 detailed Huawei's preference for promoting cadres from the toughest regions to address slow talent growth. Part 5 covered Huawei's long-term incentive system to fully motivate talent. Finally, Part 6 discussed Huawei's multiple channels for transitioning key contributors to maintain organizational vitality. As emphasized in the Huawei Basic Law, the goal of continuously increasing human resource value takes precedence over financial capital appreciation. This shows Huawei places human capital at the forefront of its strategy, and it's precisely this focus on talent that enables Huawei to continually overcome technological challenges under pressure, gaining the strength to rival world-leading tech companies. All right, that concludes our interpretation of Huawei's teamwork method. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.